What were some times when you died inside? I had a customer who was holding and examining an awkward, fragile, and expensive item with one hand. I asked her to please hold it with two. She turned to look at me. She only had one arm. I went to an interview once where one of the two people interviewing me asked if I knew French. I said I knew core French, so they decided to conduct the interview completely in French. I can understand when someone speaks French to me. I can read and write fluently in French, but I can't for the life of me speak French. It was so bad that one of the interviewers got up and left halfway through and didn't come back. Needless to say, I didn't get the job. Edit, I was drenched in sweat by the end of it. Never forget it. Edit, I am not trying to criticize or hate on French people, it was just a sweaty situation I slipped myself into that forever changed me. I have become one with cringe. On my CV I always write that I can read and write in French instead of saying that I speak it because this sounds terrifying. I haven't spoken French in a good while, but I watch films and Reddit etc. Interviewing a potential student who is interested in my school, he has a huge green circle around his eye. Wow, quite a black eye. What did you do? I was born like this. Oh wow, I did this once at my job when I was in high school. I worked with this guy for 3 years, and one day he had this huge cut all the way up his arm. I asked him what happened and he looked down and awkwardly told me he had psoriasis and was having a flare-up. All I could say was, no way, so does Kim Kardashian, you could be famous. Made almost 0 sense and I felt so bad. He was cool about it though. I'm sure that kid wasn't too upset, he knows what's up. At a company event. As we left, my colleagues were nowhere to be found as I walked outside. So I waited there. Turns out they were taking a group photo without me. My friends did this at prom. 6th grade all-day field trip to SeaWorld Orlando. Surprise period through my white shorts. All the moms who wanted to help only had tampons. I was 11 and had no idea how to use them. There ensued an embarrassing crash course. I was devastated until random dad saved the day by giving me his windbreaker to tie around my waist and told me to go have fun. Thanks random field trip dad, you saved the day. Once bought a bottle of Pepsi in a meal deal but didn't have space to put it in my bag. In my infinite wisdom, I decided to pour the contents into my reusable water bottle so I wouldn't have to carry both bottles. It was one of them bottles that has the straw in it and you flip the top up when you want a drink. Opened it in a little hardware store later in the day and the gas had built up in the bottle and it spurted out like a water gun all over the wall and ceiling. I was so embarrassed and tried my best to clean it up for them, but all the staff could do was laugh. One of them told me I was stood in the perfect spot for the CCTV to pick it up and he would be watching it back later. Edit, I'm so glad that it turns out I'm not the only idiot who has done something like this. I did this with Sprite in my 9th grade algebra class. The room went dead silent and I just went outside to dump the rest out while my classmates wiped off the desks for me. My teacher didn't even say anything. 5th grade spelling bee. I made it to the school-wide level, which was the 3rd round in first I had to beat my own class, then beat the other 5th grade classes, and next was the whole school. My first word was biscuit. Easy. My second word was soccer. Also easy. Except for the fact that I was a bit nervous being up on stage, with the whole school in attendance, including my mom who was there for support. It got in my head a little bit. I heard soccer and thought, okay, this is easy. Remember, there are 2 C's in soccer, 2 C's, 2 C's. Step up to the microphone. C-O. Instantly knew what I did. Facepalmed myself in front of everyone. Dead inside. Despite this realization, and the fact I had already lost, my brain kept the letters mixed up and I spelled the rest of the word. S-S-E-R. Koser. Any Koser fans here? Or, as you may call it in your country, B-U-T-F-O-L? I crochet and my old boss at work asked me for a scarf. He requested lilac, which I thought was odd, but he was super insistent and even sent me a color chart pointing out the exact shade he wanted. I bought the yarn and made him a scarf, but then ran into him and mentioned the scarf again and he started cracking up saying he was joking. Definitely embarrassing, but I'm glad I didn't actually bring it with me and give him the scarf only to find out he was being an asshole. I wound up giving it to another coworker who was watching the whole thing play out and she was super appreciative. God, what a massive dick. Haha, yes, what a funny joke. I definitely love spending literal hours making things you don't actually want. Yeah, I definitely felt dumb since it took me around 3 hours. But luckily my friend loved it. I've told this story before, but there was a time when I knew I was coming down with what I was sure was going to be an absolute bastard of a cold. Already beginning to feel a little fuzzy in the brain, I decided to make myself some chicken soup in advance to get me through the worst of it. I chopped some carrots, chopped some onions, threw in a chicken carcass, and over the course of about 4 hours made the most bomb-ass stock you could imagine. Then my dumb ass poured it through a colander directly into the sink. It took me a good 30 seconds before I realized what I'd done, then I just sat on the kitchen floor for about 10 minutes, gazing at the opposite wall and wishing real life had a Control-Z function. Having to repeat a clever off-the-cuff joke because the person was focusing on their phone. Ouch. Don't repeat it. The mannerless oaf doesn't deserve to hear your joke. Just say, "Should have been listening, dude," and laugh. Yup. I never repeat my jokes because then it's just awkward. Being funny is about timing. Being 45 minutes into a 1-hour drive to a meeting to realize you left the main reason for the meeting at home. When I realized I lost my passion for writing and playing music and quit my bands. They both had success after I left. That was about 10 years ago. Trying to get my groove back now. Edit, no, I don't think I'm gonna tell you about them. But if you follow post-rock, experimental music you may have heard of them. Successful as in the music is getting heard by a lot of people and they're touring. But they still have jobs when they're home. What area are you in, and more importantly, how long would I need you in my band before kicking you out in order to become successful? Folks, how about a round of applause for our new fill in guitarist Good Luck Chuck. My girlfriend decided she liked my best friend more, broke up with me, tried to get with him but he friend-zoned her right off the bat. It was sad for a long time but now I think it's hilarious. Her best friend is a bro. Hell yeah he is. It was pretty funny, she was all texting him about wanting to get with him and he texted back and friend-zoned her. I was there. I was supposed to fill in for the coach of my son's soccer team this weekend, but plans changed. This morning I told my son I wouldn't be coaching his team on Saturday. He said, "Good." Dead inside. That time I left school while chatting to friends and spotted my mum's car, got in said car and uttered the usual "Thanks for picking me up, mum," only to realize that it was not in fact my mum's car, but a complete stranger and their family. Were they good sports about it at least? I kinda sat there for a minute staring while my brain came to the decision that yes, this is indeed the wrong car, perhaps I should get out? The dad just said, "Wrong car," and I left and pretended that nobody saw my horrifying mistake. Since when we adopted this kid? It's not kidnapping, it's a surprise adoption. My first serious, real relationship, living with the girl and all that. She was basically a TA at the time and told me about this guy in her class that she thought I'd get along with. Well, he's just like you. I meet the guy and sure enough we were eerily alike. Then she calls me at work one day, says she's working on a paper and asks me some odd questions about STDs. Her questions were strange and I didn't understand why this paper was so urgent that she felt she needed to call me at work. I got home, looked through her phone and found where they'd been sleeping together. That shit hurt. Had a relationship similar when I was younger. We never got to have sex but I did meet this guy in her class that was just like you, as she said. Found out through Facebook that she had started to date this guy later. She started crying when I justifiably broke up with her. Didn't really trust to get in a relationship for a few years. Met another girl. Started dating. Found out I was the second guy this time and ghosted her. Setting, junior high. Status, awkward preteen. Style, liked cats, very shy. Walked out of the school bathroom. Noticed after a bit that the popular girl in school was watching me, giving me a strange look. She then approached me, and wordlessly pulled my skirt out of my underwear that I'd just tidily tucked in with the rest of my uniform. Then just walked away to avoid my shame, as I'd just been walking around with my panties showing. That was really nice of her. She didn't tease or mock you, she just fixed it for you. Although I totally get why you were embarrassed. I once told a random girl on campus that her thong was 100% visible through her leggings. Like, just bright blue underwear clearly visible. I know she was super embarrassed but I'd hope that someone would tell me. Watched lesbian porn and accidentally casted it onto the main TV in the living room, where my parents were watching TV on. I've always been afraid to do this, those buttons shouldn't exist so accessibly. Literally all that happened was that my screen rotated and suddenly my finger was on that button. Sad face. Honestly, if I did that I would walk out of my room to where my parents are and formally announce my suicide. Best thing about it was that at the time I was still in the closet. Lol. Mom, Dad, I'm gay. Any other questions before I kill myself? I was on a school trip to a preschool and I had bad gas. I was chilling on the floor and this little girl jumped on my stomach and I ripped ass so fucking hard. Something similar happened to me, was holding in a huge fart while hanging out with this girl I liked in middle school and she jokingly punched me in the stomach. I ripped ass hard and was so embarrassed. I feel better about mine now. When you're having a conversation with your friends and you keep getting talked over like you never said anything and by the time someone does acknowledge you the subject has changed so they all give you a weird look for being so behind and it keeps happening and you realize that these people aren't really your friends, you're just kind of there. When I was about 9 I was in a school assembly, all 400 students and all teachers. At our school assemblies the students sat cross-legged on wooden floor in the sports hall. Well, I had to fart, and I assumed it would be quiet. It was not. It ended up being extremely loud and was amplified by the wooden floor. Walked halfway across campus before a random dude let me know that I had a string of toilet paper hanging out of the back of my pants. There was poop. Just kill me. Not as deep as many others, but there was a time I had a group presentation, and none of my group had read the book we were presenting. So I had to frantically write index cards for them to read off of before our presentation, but our professor sniffed it out and started asking them questions, while I tried to whisper the answers to them. We did not do well, and I realized my friends were idiots. So my nephew is called Dominic. I have a bunch of nicknames for him like Dom, Domi, Dimatron, Domisaurs, Dominatrix. Yeah, no one for ages told me what it meant, until my husband explained it to me when I was talking about him, like I used that name in front of people. No one told me. I feel so stupid now as like dir it's obvious. Thanks for the love and the crack up stories. I feel less of an idiot for those who are asking to explain what it means. Chans whips women dominator pretty much NSFW. Every single time a user says but I'm not a computer person. You sit at this machine 8 hours a day and work on it for your job. Why is it so much trouble to type your password incorrectly? Growing up troubleshooting stupid computer shit has really formed me into the miserable person I am today.